Sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow Sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep Sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone.
Precious people and wonderful people, I greet you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I welcome you to this prophetic talk wherever you are watching or listening from, in different parts of the world. And this message is particularly shared for the people of Africa to understand what is going on in our continent. For those who are following what is happening in Burkina Faso, we realize that God, as I believe, raised a leader who is doing a good job for his nation. And now there is a rumor that those who feel that he needs to be removed. If you are following what is happening and the news that is going around the internet, I want you to pay attention to the video that I'm bringing up again, because in the past, I brought up this video, I shared this video amongst other related messages that I was talking about the United States of Africa, viewing Africa from above. And those messages are very, very important to relate with what is happening today. And I'm going to put them in the comment section. But I just thought maybe many people, they missed the video that I believe it is not being circulated enough for the people of Africa to hear the plans that these people, the Western people and the European people, are planned against Africa. This will help us to understand, even those who do not understand what is happening, why sometimes they need to remove certain leaders. You realize that it's not about trying to protect people, it's about resources. And I'm saying this as a prophetic intercessor who is praying for our nation and the nations of Africa. That's why I'm sharing this. This is not necessarily a prophecy, but it's something that I'm projecting. I will try maybe to bring part of the things that I shared so that you will know that I'm coming from a background where we are talking about these things. And you must understand that these people, they don't care who is there. It is no longer about, we are liberation struggle movements. We are there to protect our people. As many of them are no longer in that stand or protecting their people, they are also cooperating with these Western people, Western countries, plundering resources of Africa. But the important thing that I want us to pay attention is the message that they were discussing at their forum, planning against Africa. Then you realize that when you see some people rising, trying to say, let's defend ourselves as Africans, they are not trying to speak, they are not trying to bring something that is out of context. Now, one thing that I need to understand, especially believers and Christians, is that we cannot look at these things and say, no, this is politics, what should it affect? God gave us this earth to dwell there, to dominate and to live there. He also gave people their geographical places so that they can live there. So if we just say, no, let us leave the politics to the politicians, you are not doing justice to God. That's why we also pray for peace, for things, for prosperity, because God gave it to here. So there are other people who may rise to distort the plan of God here and to be selfish, and those who are just looking at themselves. That's why we need also to understand that our duty is also to pray for the order of God here on earth, for the will of God here to be done on earth. No, this is beside the point. I'm just giving you an understanding for those who may follow from different political view. But let us go through this video, the message that I shared before, and this clip that I said it may be deleted. I'm not sure if they allowed it to be circulated because it's their secret. But let us hear anyway. Then you understand why the noise in Burkina Faso.
Sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay? So the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay? And to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know. So this is what we do in academic institutions. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. We cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufactures. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that. And I'm going to show you how we actually block that. We had East Asian rapid industrialization processes. So in the earlier period, we had Japan and Korea and Taiwan. Okay, rapid growth, sucking in raw materials from Africa, driving up the prices. And after those countries finished industrialization, then Sub-Saharan African growth rate again fell. Sub-Saharan Africa is condemned to this role. Just the supplier of raw materials, not a manufacturer. The currencies are collapsing of these countries, and many of them are sub-Saharan African countries. After colonization ended, we needed new structures to keep these countries where they were. Okay? And the first of those is aid. Okay, we give them aid. Aid for what? Actually, we give them aid to keep repressive regimes in power. That's all. All the hypocrisy about transparency and democracy and bullshit like that, it's all bullshit. But it would go to country after country offering loans. And if the president did not accept the loan, they were killed. It's just economics. It's economic warfare. The rich declare war on the poor. It happens everywhere. It happens in a country. The rich control the government. Of course they do. You really believe you have democracy? Come on. I mean, go up. Who has all the subsidies and income support? US, Europe. The largest budgets in the world for supporting their farmers are Europe and US. You see, we're keeping them dependent. We're keeping them on a string. This next round of the WTO is designed to block that. To block anyone else getting on top of the ladder.
Viewing Africa from above, and the other one, United States of Africa. In those videos, there is information that is related to what I want you to listen. This is what I was trying to put across.
The leaders of Africa, some in court, they've let their people down. This is not to say there was no significant change when they came to power. But as I was praying, because I'm one of those who are desiring to see a great move of God in nations of Africa, not only spiritual but also economical revival, as much as we are praying for the revival across Africa, spiritual. So this message came to say, some of the leaders, they have let their people down, as much as they are standing in defense of the resources of Africa, they are not doing justice. And this is the mind of God that I'm going to speak here. As you can see that most of the things that the nations of Africa are enjoying, the infrastructure, the roads and certain things, were built with those colonizers of the past. And when these leaders came into power, they did not do much to improve their nations, but they only talk about defense of their nations. To some, it's not necessarily defense, but they have just jumped a certain wire. They have just jumped a certain game to another game. If Africa has to have that impact and to be a great nation, they must realize that it's not a matter of hating the left and also go to the right. What I'm saying is that we understand that most of the African nations were colonized by the West, and also they were colonized by those who are supposedly to be the West in the European nations, and some from the Americans. But however, most of the Africans who are advocating that we need to stand with our own resources gave much, or they've even took more of the resources out of Africa, more than those who were said they have colonized Africa. They are making deals with new players. For example, I once sent a message to our nation to say, you may run away from a lion, but you'll be going to a leopard. And I want you to understand when I use these examples. A lion and a leopard, these are animals that feeds from meat. So if someone says, I hate a lion, he cannot just give his meat to a leopard and say, because I hate a lion, deprive his children of the food that they must get by giving it to his friend and say, I will not give my enemy. Because if you deprive your own children, even if you give your friend and your children are suffering, you are as good as giving your enemy the food, because the same thing that you are running away from, the same thing that you are trying to protect, is the same things that are being taken by your friend. So the nations of Africa and the leaders of Africa, this is where God was saying they have let their nations down, in the sense that when they built alliance with other nations, especially those in East, they are doing much more in plundering the resources of Africa that are going out instead of building the nations of Africa. So what is the message here? The message is coming to say Africa needs to look itself and build something that can protect its own resources, more than taking the resources and give them to what they call their friend. Yet they were crying years back that they were under colonization, and these people, they are pointing that they have taken their resources. They managed to do certain things in their nations, and when they defeated them, they have invited some other people not to protect the resources, but to take the same resources out of Africa. So this is the message.
So I want you to pay attention to what these people are saying. This gives us that sometimes we may be fighting each other as Africans, but these people, they don't care who is on power. You will understand that most of the ruling parties, they accuse, especially the aspiring opposition parties, to say you are the one that are linked or you are friends with these Western countries. But after watching this video, you realize that some who went for a liberation struggle to fight for their own, to fight for their independence, some of the leaders are still there. Some of these parties are still ruling in Africa. But still, the nations are poor. As a result, you see that some of the leaders, they are cooperating with the agenda of these people, making their own nation poor. So it is very important to understand that whether it's opposition, whether it's ruling party, any leader or any party that will also cooperate, giving advantage to these nations, they are not doing justice to the African nations as the resources are going out of Africa. As